Hola community, it's Pablo Vazquez, live from my house. Blender Today 100 found us all in quarantine at home, but what a better moment to celebrate than just chilling in a kind of where Blender Today started. Blender Today episode 100 is the first, it's the first time. It's not the first time that I do 100 episodes, but it's the first time that I actually do something for so long. It's super nice. Super weird to do this. By the way, first of all, if you're gonna watch this episode fully, yesterday I published a recap video where I cover most of the Blender features. This week there hasn't been that many features, so it's only gonna be Blender Today about Blender Today. You're warned. But today, the Blender Today brand didn't come out of nowhere. I didn't invent it actually. It's a teamwork with my buddy, my friend, Francesco.
Hello. And happy centenary of the Blender Today.
Happy centenary Blender Today. Happy, isn't that crazy? We're here. It's 100 episodes. 100 is like over 2 years.
Yeah. No, I was just laughing when you were saying, like, I've been doing this for so long, you know, first time, like the commitment for keeping this going. So, you know, congratulations to making it this fun.
It's really crazy to be doing this for so long. Now it's part of my job, so I kind of have to do it. But it started all completely like its own, like, I don't know, thing. I just wanted to share news about Blender stuff in Spanish at the beginning. So I think maybe we can talk about it today. About that today. It's gonna be a chatting episode, I think.
Yes, exactly. And I think that, you know, I just for context, I gave a call to Pablo
half an hour
ago, just saying, hey, you know, after hearing some advice also from, you know, Dalai, who has also been a guest on this show a few times, you know, we were talking about, what could we do? And it's like, for once, how about you get an interview, you know? And so, like, you know, with the timing that is typical of the Latino people, I gave you a call just you know, a few minutes ago to say, okay, let's do it, and here we are. So yes, wow. It's gonna be a talk about. I'm gonna ask you some questions.
So meta.
And, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what? I'm nervous.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Go on.
Well, no. Like, basically for today, I wanted to talk about Blender Today, but yeah, just we have no prepared this at all. So, hi.
Hi. It's gonna be super spontaneous. So, but you know, let's go. Good. You're doing great. So, let's see. Like, I mean, you know, we are gonna indeed talk a little bit about the story and what is going on, like what, you know, where the show comes from. And relive some, you know, moments of, you know, the highs and the lows of the shows, and so on. And indeed, like, let's just start from the beginning, which is, you know, when did it start? Actually, do you have some reference? Do you have, like, let's browse the internet together to find some of these answers, because we are so prepared.
So we are so prepared. So basically, I actually was thinking of showing a little bit where this come out of, where this come out from. So basically, we're working together with Francesco, sharing the social media, like managing the social media stuff of Blender since don't let us make a Twitter account, basically.
Yeah, and before that, we were doing it even before it was the social media. So it was like more an effort of helping out with the communication. Like, we were working on the website, sometimes writing blog posts, making pictures for the blog posts, and, you know, stuff like that. And then indeed, like, can we have Facebook? Can we have Twitter? And so on. Yes. Yeah.
It was just a mix of just sharing news and stuff. But then at some point, one day in the old studio, I was like, how do I write this? And then I asked around, because back then we were all sitting in the same room, basically all 4 or 5 of us that were like the core team that was left after the Gooseberry project. So
Yes.
it's like, hey, how do you say this in English? And nobody really knew exactly how to say it because there's not native English speaker at the studio. Now there is Mike, but before there was none. And so I was like, I imagine how people that speak Spanish might feel like. Where do they get the news? It's like, that's the language I talk. And I'm a bit of a grammar Nazi even, so I try to take care of writing it correctly and stuff. So I decided to like, okay, let's see if there is a space for sharing the Blender news in Spanish. And that's actually what I was, how I started. I made a video asking people like, hey, do you want to know what's new in Blender in Spanish? And they said yes. Over 100 likes. So I was like, what? There is actually people that are interested in the Blender news. So in Spanish. So for me, 100 likes was like insane. Super happy. So with that in mind, I made another video where I actually was starting to. I'm actually showing it in the live stream. I don't know if you're watching, but
yeah, I'm seeing it now. Yeah.
So basically, I used to make videos like just talking about things like what is Blender 2.8. Because back then it was 2.7, and like even that, what is Blender 2.8? I didn't even talk about it in the Blender today or like ever, you know. So I was like, yeah, this is Blender 2.8. Why? Because we need to change. Why it's not Blender 3? And all the things from like collections, and then talking about new stuff. That was really eye-opening. Then it moved on to like, what are layers versus collections? What is the difference? Now that I look back, actually, I was putting more production into this video.
I was going to say the production value was over the roof. Look at that, and you had the music, and there was like everything. Yeah. Look at that, the slow-mo. Jesus.
Slow-mo. Even like
algunos comentarios
titles.
La semana pasada dejaron que les gustó.
And that was crazy. So actually, maybe I could go back to this. It was super nice. And well, with this, actually, I just kept doing it until one time, I was like, I'm just installing Ubuntu for the first time. I was just like, my cleanest Linux install. How do you even install Blender, and how do you run Blender for the first time? So it's like, let's turn on the camera. It's midnight. Who's gonna notice that I'm all sleepy? So basically, oh, look at the builder.blender, or how did it look back then?
Beautiful.
Really beautiful, yes. So basically, I made a live stream where I show how Blender was set up, and I found that it was so much easier than editing a video for 1 day, 2 days, that it was like, hey, maybe I can do this more often. So basically, that's how it started. Wow.
Wait, was that video in English, or was it? Yeah, it was, right?
No, which one?
Installing the installation of not that one.
No, in everything was in Spanish.
Everything was still in Spanish, right? Because I remember we would go to the gym, and we were talking about it. It was like, so when it's time to start switching, yeah, but I don't know in English, whatever. It's just like, just do it. It's international. Like these videos now, looking at them, it looks like more like lifestyle channel than like tech.
Yeah. But isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Some Blender people go outside every now and then. And I used to go
Not
outside.
now.
Yeah, because
Not
I was
today.
doing it on the weekend. Yeah, exactly. Now I wouldn't be able, we couldn't even go outside. Or maybe we could, and then there would be people. So yeah, I was doing live intros. I was like, this is my favorite actually. I went to a conference in Moscow, Blend for Web conference, and I recorded the whole trip there to talk about Blend for Web. And because I didn't know much about the project, I just went to see. And then it was a nice first impression. Travel video.
Yeah, you did that also for when we went to NSC, for example, and that was like less Blender Today thing. It was more like a production for to just talk about what we did when we went there. The only just watching the videos, it's fun. Like the only downside of this was indeed that to achieve this production value, it was like quite time consuming, and that's I think always something one of the topics that we could talk about is like how to find the right balance between creating this kind of content and then at the same time keeping up with everything else, because it's nice to be able to do this, and especially when you see like larger channels or like public figures that do this kind of stuff, they usually have a team helping them out. Sometimes they work by themselves, but then it's really a full-time job, basically. It's not that next to it you actually do other things, which you actually happen to do often. So the question is like, okay, how did you find the balance? And I can see that part of the balance was found by not making Google Earth video intros to your Blender Todays. But like, is there anything else also that how do you leave that balance now? Because things have changed, of course. Now you do it, during work time at least. So that's something.
Yeah, I found that now with the quarantine time, I'm actually enjoying making this kind of videos. I don't know if making the recap video plus everything else that I was doing, plus the live streams every day at 5, which we started with, very ambitious project, I would be able to keep up with it, unless I don't know, maybe I should prepare the production a bit more. I don't know, maybe I should plan like for the month the whole episodes, and maybe that would be easier. I have to still find the balance in there. But these kind of videos, I quite enjoy it, and I don't know if it's even interesting. I think it's interesting in the case of Blender, Blender in the world, outside, Blender everywhere instead of every day. So like, because we go to NSA or SIGGRAPH or I don't know,
Lightbox or other stuff. Yeah.
So it's good to see Blender out there. So maybe that's a concept we can investigate in the future. Now we have back then I was doing full-time web stuff constantly for the cloud, for Blender Adore, for everything. Now I'm not doing that so much because we have people helping out with that. Maybe it's a good concept to talk about. I think after, like, when I found that doing the live streams was much more like you can interact with people much better, and of course it takes less time. It's less quality, but less quality as in less production value.
Yeah.
But I found by doing the live stream, look at how skinny and young I look just 3 years ago. This was after the H327, but the amount of exciting things that happen with the movie releases and the travels and stuff, I think it could be there's potential for it.
Yeah, like indeed, you can get some how you say, like influencer deals to go places and document stuff.
Like Blender influencer deals, I guess. I think the Blender Foundation.
I mean, like, even besides that, like, indeed, like bringing people together and doing this kind of stuff, it's definitely, I think it has a lot of potential, especially after this disaster of the corona pandemic will be over.
Well, yeah, so amazing. Is that something that you think it's valuable for Blender itself as a brand? Blender could invest, because it's an investment. If I stop doing other things that I'm doing right now for doing this, it's an investment.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate like this, especially like the more edited videos. It's just like, I think it's gonna be more about finding the sweet spot between how much of that investment it is, because with relatively low resources, you can already achieve a lot. So being able to go to somewhere and document it, like it can have a cost, which then is, value indeed that is brought back. It's something to look at. I think it's definitely. I mean, it's already a little bit like the direction when you've been going with the live streams and like with the channel to really become more and more like, a prominent face for the project. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I feel the same as before. I don't think much has changed in terms of how I don't know. I always felt like, I don't know, connecting with people, sharing stuff, and with the video, with the trainings that I used to do back in, I don't know, 2009, like 11 years ago, I made a training tutorial about Venom Slab, and I still feel like back in the days. I don't know, maybe back then I was more focused on art. I would like to bring that back.
Look at that boy, my boy, look at him.
Venom Slab. I don't even have a Venom Slab. I have the second one only here.
Amazing.
Yeah,
right.
It's a me. Twice as big.
Beautiful.
Hair wise. I was super young. There was one of the tutorials that I made back then. Don asked me to make a training video after finishing Yo Frankie, which was the first project that I actually worked on when I joined the Blender Institute back then for this project for Yo Frankie. I don't know. I still feel it's like back in the days. I don't see that it's much like, I don't know, more.
It's good. You stay authentic. You stay true to yourself, which is like a little bit like, you know, one of the big things of Blender, like in general as a project that we try to keep, you know, stay real.
Absolutely. I think it's just Blender. The Blender community has changed a little bit over time, but it's just about going with it. I don't think I have, or my persona out there has changed at all or anything. It's just, I think the Blender community has changed. It's just it's much bigger, way bigger. So you have people from everywhere, you know. Back then it was like people using Blender maybe was way more hardcore, and there was really nobody asking to do things differently. Basically it was like more, I don't know, excitement about the way things were in Blender, which is nice. And getting people from other communities, it's also nice because you get to see other points of view. But I think, well, I'm looking at this.
Yeah, me too. It's mesmerizing.
Yeah, okay, let's pause it. But basically, there was the project that we were working on.
Okay, I have some like to go back to the, you know, the evolution of oh wow, this thing never ends. There is so much content.
I'm showing my portfolio from 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, this is from 2005 or 4.
Going back in time,
16 years ago.
Talking about like the evolution of Blender today, I would like to start going over the top 10 Blender Today episodes.
Top 10 Blender Today episodes.
Of all times. Well, I mean, okay, just, you know, I briefly mentioned it to you before the call. I have no idea like how we can even do that. Maybe you have some. Maybe you have some, like maybe you have some from your memory. I think in my own memory, like one of the most, maybe because I also was in it, but I think also symbolically, I think it was really, really the most, one of the most epic ones was when you did the Blender Today live, in real life, at the Blender conference last year. That was
like the peak, I think. That was, so there is Blender Today conference. Basically, that's an idea from Ton asking like, hey, so what about you do like a talk show, kind of like a late night show in Blender style? This was, I didn't even know how would it come out. I was like, okay, yes, I mean, let's do it. And then
look at that.
And then you said, oh, we can get you a couch. What do you mean a couch? It's like, yeah, we can get you a couch. Okay. And you set up the lights and the background, and it's just ridiculous when I look at it. I don't know. So many people in one room. Yeah. So I think there was the weirdest thing I ever done in my life. Really, I didn't even think how the beer there was a kind of a homage, the same as today, because it started with me having a chill moment after work. Basically, I would record the Blender Today or Blender Hoy in Spanish back then, just after work. We like, I don't know, 11 p.m. or 12 p.m. There was never like an actual time. So maybe that's also nice to mention how that evolved, how the schedule evolved. Basically, at the beginning, it was like, bam, I want to make a live stream. So you just do the live stream. Then maybe, okay, announce it, but it was always different times. But the moment that when I said like, okay, every week at this time, whatever, at first it was on Fridays. Then I noticed that I was kind of missing my Fridays because I would do it like at 11 p.m. And then it was like, oh man, I can't really go out for, I don't know. I was losing my Fridays basically. So I moved it to Mondays,
right?
Yeah, but Mondays.
It was a Monday for the longest time.
For Mondays, we were going to the gym together, and I was super tired. So I was like, oh, I don't have time for anything. So okay, Tuesday or something like, I don't know. There was something going on Mondays, or maybe because we have the kickoffs at the work on earlier. I don't know. It was just a weird time. So then I moved it around, and then I ended up being Mondays at 9 p.m. For the longest time, I did it at 9 p.m. You can find, by the way, if anybody wants to follow the videos, the Spanish ones are on my my YouTube channel. You can go back a couple of years. I'm gonna find the Spanish ones. But after doing the Spanish one, when we said like, okay, what if people, because after doing it in Spanish, I was getting comments from people like, I don't understand anything. Do it in English. Like, but you have Blender Nation for news. You have the Twitter, you have everything. Yeah, but it's not the same. You wanna, okay. So I started doing it in English. So all those videos from the very first one, you can find them on a playlist that is called Blender Today Live here on this channel, which is linking to the original channel, which was called Blender Today. Now it's called Blender Community, because it has a bit of everything, and so it's not confusing for people. So not too confusing.
Not confusing at all.
Not confusing at all. It's my face doing the same thing but in a different channel. That's okay. Yeah. But that's how it started actually, is like doing on this YouTube channel.
The originals.
These are the original ones. I was even adding the time for everything, but then with the daylight saving it was getting a bit confusing to update it every week.
Okay, so out of these ones, do you have like which one do you think is, one of your top 10?
Oh, there are so many, but like the things I can think of the top of my head was announcing the removal of Blender, Blender internal or Blender game engine. That was like heartbreaking. Really, it was like, come on, I work on the only open movie game, so you're taking that away from me. But like, yes, basically that was a big episode for me to go. Also announcing Eevee suddenly, that was a big one for me. I was like, wow, there is this real-time render engine. So many I don't know, I think Blender Today just came at the right time with this
because there was always something. I'm just looking at the titles and it's like, yeah, there was an open movie, game engine is dead. Like, New
Blender Institute is like, yeah, guys, we moved. So basically I was here in my old little one, like, how do you call it, studio apartment, when it's just the one room. So basically what you don't see here is that behind my screen is my bed. and behind that poster is the toilet, and behind here this thing is the kitchen. It's all in one room. That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Back then, but then I get to mention that we are actually moving into a new building, which is also crazy. This is like, what? Amazing. I don't know. Beyond that Blender community and stuff, but personally, like being able to tell the world, like, hey guys, the Blender Studio is moving. I don't know, render layers, view layers, when things happen, you have to share development stuff, even if you don't completely agree with what the changes are. That's also a hard thing to talk about.
Yeah.
You have to be objective.
I remember we were talking about it in the past. You were like, yeah, and then they did this, and I'm like, and then you were talking about it. It's fun. Like, in a way, it's also good to do this kind of stuff because it keeps you connected with the reality.
Absolutely.
Like the fact that you have to produce this yourself and that you have to go over it, like almost on a daily basis. That is, I think, in a way, it's a very good exercise to do. And,
I actually go on a daily basis and read what's new in Blender and everything. And yeah, it's just it keeps you connected. Yesterday I had this comment, which I'm gonna share. Yesterday I had this comment, and it's a very nice one that says, the actual revolution of Blender 2.8 was community activation and communication. I shared this one with you yesterday because it really like touched my heart in a way, that the revolution of 2.8 was actually communicating.
And I think indeed, like for you, in a sense you can see how this pays off, and that's actually I had it also as one of my questions, because I remember indeed seeing this and thinking like, you contributed a lot to this part because you've been able to dedicate a lot of time in it. Like, what do you think would be the next phase, or what do you think could be better of the current way? This kind of news are shared, or if like there are other ideas that that we could do, like to make communication even better. One thing is, okay, traveling videos, Instagram influencer, the blender hashtag blender life. Okay, that's one. But like, give me something else.
Okay. Yes. No. So yeah, a limo, traveling by limo everywhere. That would be a good investment for Blender to do. Now it's so I think the way we're doing it now, it's just going great. I really appreciate the support I got from Blender. Like I started this at home with my own. I had to buy a camera and buy a tripod, buy all the thing, and then buy a microphone. I have two microphones, a mixer and stuff, and I have my own setup. And then getting the support from my like everyday work, where he says, "Hey, you should do this during work hours because it's actually good for the community." That investment from Blender, that was very nice. And the fact that I can ask anybody in the community or on the developers to like, hey, do you want to drop by and talk about this feature? And the people are excited about that. I think it shows really the potential for this. I haven't really seen this even in other open source projects that much. There are some projects that share updates, or like some more commercial, like I think some, like you can see Google Chrome updates, or like, but you really don't get these like weekly updates about a software, which I think is a really good thing to have. The community involvement has evolved a lot from sharing the updates. Even the community was the one that actually shaped this show. At the beginning, it was really me just at some moment answering questions, some moment sharing news and stuff, and the community was like the one, okay, first do giving shape, first do this section, and shaping it. And I think now we reach a point where this is something that people are used to and they enjoy watching every day, and they get used to it. And when it doesn't happen, they miss it. I get a lot of messages, thank you for that.
Reminders.
So the same way the community shaped the first episodes of Blender Today, the first 100 episodes, I think the Corona in a way is shaping the second part of Blender Today's with Blender Everydays, and the new series that we just started, which I think we should keep doing, is the Blender Code Dive or Code Day, we could call it. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's I've said, you told me it's working pretty well, and it's of course like it's a niche in a way, but it's something that you've never seen before. So
and it's something that no one anywhere
can even do. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
There is no cookies, no gurus, no boosts, no matters that can talk about Blender development as good as the Blender developers. So I just the fact that we have access to like say, hey, you made cycles. How is this thing with Brecht? Or like
it would be hilarious. Yeah.
That kind of thing. Or like,
and like to make it really tangible, to make it really practical. That's the thing that I like a lot too, because that's nice to see like how people work and what they do. So yeah, okay. So that's one thing. What do you think also about, since you were mentioning this format, you also started with a new format, which is the recaps, right?
The recap videos, yes.
So how about that? As in, how is that working out? Because that is bringing back a little bit the production. You know, the time that it takes you to edit those videos, I think it's significant. Like, I mean, it's not that you can do it in a few hours. It takes quite some time.
Yes.
So how do you see that? How do you see that going? Where do you see it going?
It's taking time. It's so more or less it takes me like like a day or so to stay updated with the Blender news, like to go through all the commit logs of that week, plus seeing the like what is the change and testing the change and stuff. Then the day after, I do like the recordings and the editing, the first part of the editing, which is from the 1 hour recording that I do, cut it into little pieces to fit in the 10 minutes of video that I ends in the end, and then editing. So it's a 2 to 3 day that if I could push it even more, maybe I could do it in maybe 2 days, but it's 2 full days. which I'm not doing anything else back. So is it worth it? Yes. Is it worth it in a I don't know, commercial point of view? Like, is it really bringing more views than the live stream? And the answer, surprisingly, is not. People watch the same amount of videos of 1 hour for the live streams, and the recaps have very like around the same amount of views. I don't know exactly what I was completely against what I was expecting. I was expecting, hey, this video is 10 minutes, I can share it with my non-Blender friends.
Turns out they don't watch it, even if it's 1 minute. They don't want to see it. Only your Blender friends will see it.
Yes.
Or maybe we actually have two overlapping audiences and they are both as big, because that's also possible. That's what we are in the process of finding out, indeed, which I think it is very interesting, because
very interesting
you can count, I think, on not a lot of overlap actually being there. But indeed, it's I know it's taking quite some time and resources to get those videos done, and
it takes a lot of time to see what's new. And then there is this, like, some of the developers make it easier to, because they share a video and then I just put the video, but some of the features are just like, what is this even doing? And then I have to talk about it like I know what I'm talking about. So I have to study the feature.
Walk me through that process of how do you become like comfortable, going over stuff that you have heard of, the day before. How does that work? Tell me a little bit, like, how you prepare for this kind of stuff, because you actually were doing it also in the live a lot,
but
to
with
just
the live,
demo stuff in real time. So how did that work?
Well, for the lives, since I only had to do one video a week, I was basically catching up with Blender in the mornings, like reading all the commit logs, and then I have a Google Doc where I basically just put up all the stuff that I have. So for today, I had the video links, and there is like one feature, but in the past I have from Blender 99, for Blender today 98, 97. So basically I have a Google Doc where anything I see on the week, I put it on the on a Google Doc, and then I just go through it just one by one. I add the links, but I don't really study the feature right there, because otherwise it will be too much time consuming. So I watch them at the end, all just the ones. I go, it's like, okay, what is this feature? What does it does? Okay. But making demo files, that's also time consuming. Making video demos is also time consuming. It's a many step process. So once I have the video, and sometimes I have videos of like 1 hour where I'm just like I could even show that, basically
struggling
like struggling with the video. It's like, what is this thing even? What's going on? So basically I have videos of and then the audio is wrong, and I'm like trying to, I don't know, I just go for like hours ranting about the Blender UI, and then I'm just like testing things, and then and it's not gonna, just looking around and looking back, and then just on top trying again, for example, materials or meshes or whatever, any data block. I don't know, it's taking me forever. Doing live stream is so much easier. But the process of going through the updates, the features, and making the short videos, that's one part. The second part is editing, putting them all together. That's fairly fast. But then making demo videos of every feature, cutting the picture. Now I got a more or less a process where I just have a image on GIMP where I just add stuff, I add text, and then I use that.
So that makes it a little bit easier, basically. Can you still hear me now?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. I went through the process of changing audio devices while you were talking. So.
Okay, in the chat, is everybody listening? Okay.
Yeah, your sound went away, but it was my headphones, I think. So that's my
oh, well. Anyway, so that's the process, basically. So the future, I guess, because just to go back to what you were asking, is like, when we have Blender today.
Yes.
I think that should let's find out if that should stay or not, because the Blender today and the Blender recap, they kind of overlap. I think. So what about having a Blender Q&A? That's what I've been trying to do lately. So it's like the developers Q&A, that only focus on questions and answers from the community, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's indeed like probably to kind of favor the interaction. I think people are voting here. Yes.
Yep. Yes, it's fine. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
People have spoken. Yes.
Thank you.
So, it's like indeed take advantage of the fact that you are live to have some interaction, to be able to talk to people, and the fact that you are always there, as a recognizable face to introduce developers or to moderate a little bit the conversation. I think that is very cool. And then instead spend more energy and focus on presenting new features and content like that, which it would be ideal if then that content can transform itself into release notes and release material, because that's also another one of the things that we end up doing and that is coming very soon again.
I'm a bit scared about that. Because, well, now I've been doing the videos a bit less. I was doing it every day. It was getting a bit overwhelming. Actually, tomorrow we have another one on Saturday at 4 p.m. in this channel, just saying, for like 1 hour earlier than these videos.
Stay inside, watch videos.
Yes, 1 hour earlier. Anyway, the scary thing is that I also focus on the release notes, and I love it. And one of the most watched videos of the last year in the Blender Foundation YouTube channel is the features video of 2.82 that you crafted.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's one of the most most watched videos. And before that is the Blender 2.8.
Okay. So like the secret is make 1 minute videos basically.
Yes.
And also spend 1 week doing them, because that also takes time.
1 minute, that takes a week, yes. So
okay.
I think I think we can do a mix. Maybe Blender today should be just Blender recap, and then we should have a Blender Q&A, maybe every 2 weeks or so. Then every 2 weeks we could have the Blender code dive to dive into the code.
Yeah. That sounds to me like a great asset. So I think it's a great way to move forward in the future.
And on top of that, the Blender Everydays with actually talking to the developers, that's also very nice.
Yeah.
To the developers, to the artists, to whoever. Like having Jacques-Luc and Simon was amazing. Having like talk about the Everything Notes project plus the notes themselves. Then we have the do's, and that was like the author of the splash screen. That was also very nice. We have Gleb Alexandro, Rachel, AD, and talking about their stuff as well. I think that we should do both. We should do maybe keep those, but more, I don't know, maybe it should
less
be every
day,
week.
more hype, basically. That's the idea. I think the key, like at least for me, with my with my production background, is that we just try to have this a little bit more scheduled, so that then instead of one day from another, or feeling like, oh, this week I have every day a thing, and then it's like, what's going to happen next week? To just have these things like better like lined up for like a month, as you were saying.
Yeah. And
that also maybe eases a little bit like the feeling, and it also makes it it's a great way also to communicate to the outside world. Look, there is like a lot of continuity, there is a lot of stuff coming up, and it helps everyone to plan around it, maybe even make a little bit more hype. Because actually one thing that we could discuss is, have you seen like the growth of this channel, the Blender channel, but also like of the show itself?
Yeah.
Of how many people are watching it. Like you had, also to go back to the top 10.
Top 10, yeah, we still have to mention. I only mentioned like a few.
Yeah. But it's like you had some live streams that got peaks of visibility of thousands of people, like simultaneous views when you were streaming.
2,400 or so was the peak ever.
Yeah. So it has grown quite a bit, right?
Yes, it has grown, but we reach a limit, I think, as well. I think we reach the roof. So I that's also something interesting to talk about. So the original YouTube channel of Blender Today, I started a Blender channel. I started a YouTube channel from scratch, which was scary. But I started from scratch with Blender Today for the very first video that I did. And the first video was like 5K views, 4K, 8K. Some of them were 2K views. But then at some point when people started hearing about it and they found out that it was actually weekly content, that also made it a big thing. I already mentioned it, but the moment you give people a schedule and they know they're going to be at that time like able to hear Blender news and stuff and talk with people live, they actually join. And then we reached it was around 10, 12K people every episode. 10K was like a good average. Then we moved to like, and this channel was like nothing, no subscribers. And then the topic now right now is like 13K, but I think when we stopped having the Blender Today live, it was 10 or 11,000 subscribers. Then we moved into the Blender Foundation YouTube channel with like over 500,000.
With great expectations.
Great expectations. Like, we're going to have millions of you. We have 100,000 per episode because it's nope.
So big, so many subscribers, all the notifications being sent out. Yeah.
Nope. It's a lie. Subscriber count is a lie. You can have 1 million subscribers, but your videos, if the algorithm doesn't care about how many subscribers you have. It's just about the video content that is shown to people. So the average view count of once we were on the Blender Foundation YouTube channel, it went up maybe 50% or so, which is not a lot. Well, considering we went from like 10K to 500,000.
Yeah. I remember when we were doing the math, we were like looking at the charts, me like, this doesn't, with all the numbers, the me with the numbers, me like, so we had like, 5 times. No, wait, it's like 50 times more people, but we have the same. Wait, what?
So the actual thing that makes it is content, pure content. Yeah. You have Pablo Navarro, Julian, both talking about the new sculpt tools. Bam, you get 1,800 people. That's what we got. And now that video has like over 100,000 views. That one video. Okay. That was a nice episode. Then get Tom Rosendahl talk about Epic Games giving $1.2 million. Bam, you get views.
Okay.
Talk about Blender 3.0. Bam, you get views.
Wear a suit.
Wear a suit. Exactly. So.
Okay, I see some of the top videos.
Unfortunately, YouTube pushes you to do this kind of content, like just more like hype and talk about. I don't know. I would love to have done every week, of course, in the live stream or Pablo Navarro or like any.
But then the videos are gonna be not popular anymore. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, moral of the story: it's content over, quality over quantity, and not even then, because sometimes the quality is not even that good. It's just a hype topic of the week or of that time. Yeah, but those are the biggest moments, I think, when you have to announce things like moving to a new place or like Blender, like Eevee was added and those kind of things. It's just amazing that I don't know.
Yeah, so the solution is to keep having stuff happening all the time.
All the time. Like, I don't know why we were not doing it back then.
Yeah, because actually even back then there was always stuff happening, but it's really a mindset of being able to just sorry, I'm just having my eyes sometimes distracted by looking at the comments, and there is like a whole thread about.
Where's the comments? Probably are like the minions of what happened with my. Why do
but if you scroll up, there is like hundreds of comments about who is Pablo, and Pablo is the one with the glasses and stuff like that. So it's been going on for a while. You didn't really miss a lot, so don't worry.
Who's Pablo? I am Pablo. I'll try to say it every more often.
Those who just tuned in, this is Pablo.
Just okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So that is the content, basically. That's all about content.
Yeah, and what I was actually saying is that indeed one of the difficult things, maybe like one of the evolutions from the past, is really to get more into this mindset of really sharing, like within this format, because it's a different format, right? Like the Blender has always been a very open project, always open to anyone to see, and like it's in the very spirit of the software, how it's made to be open and shared with everyone. But then you have to find what that means in the different mediums. So, first it was on social media. How much do you post? How do you do it? What do you write? How do you write? Or blog posts. And now it's like this with the videos. And I think that, and it's taking like maybe a couple of years, and it's already, getting into a certain shape. So that's great to see. And it's really something that takes time to evolve. And it's good.
I really think this is the future, like communicating more. And I wish other open source projects, because really that's the thing, only open source projects can share as much as we share, and that's mind blowing. And people should, I don't know, I think a lot of people don't appreciate that the reason I can share news every day, and I can show you the line of code that changed that day that actually fixed your bug. Today there was a request on right click select about changing the default of the track 2 constraint so it's not stupid basically, so it works out of the box. And they requested it, we talked about it with the UI team, with the riggers and stuff, and now it's changed. And it's there, and because it's open source, you can see the change, and it's there for everybody. That it's just crazy that we can do that. So if anybody from other open source projects, it doesn't have to be a developer or someone involved with the team, if you see like anybody has access to what changed in GameKrita, OBS, Mozilla, whatever,
anything, any open source piece of software, no matter how small or big, you can really take advantage of that dynamic, basically, which is really what makes these projects stand out. Because indeed, we don't have to wait for the release to say, and this is the great features that are happening. Because even then, even if everybody knows what features are going to be in 2.83, for example, like, what is the best way to present them? Actually, help us out. Give us some, like, there are artists out there, and we are so lucky in that regard too, that there is the community making content, and then like people are willing to share that content and to have it, screened or streamed or whatever we want. That's really awesome. And indeed, it's thanks to the fact that we work this way. It wouldn't be possible in any other way.
It really wouldn't be possible. So it's all thanks to the community of developers and artists and everybody really sharing what they do every week, which keeps you motivated.
Yeah. I was wondering, like, do you have, like, I don't know if for this episode you created like the questions thread, if there is anything that
good point. There is a thread, actually. I didn't create it myself. It was created by Momotron. So if there are Blender related questions, I might not be able to answer them all because it's a bit late. Should we focus on Blender only questions? Like, hey, Momotron, thank you. Congrats for the Blender Today 100. Can't wait for 1000. How many years is 1000? Do the math.
It depends. If you do it
every week.
If you do it every day, in like less than 4 years, we are done.
Bam, done.
Right.
No, Blender every day don't count for Blender Today, actually.
Less than 3 years, actually, but yeah. If you take weekends off, then it's like just to play it safe. So
do you plan to have some character rigging tutorials on Blender Cloud? Maybe you know that. I happen to have the producer of Blender Cloud. Animation Studio.
Just very like a quick answer is yes, we want to be able to share more about that. We are talking about it, how to combine that with the projects that we are doing. So you can expect at least a little bit more, even if it's not necessarily a full-fledged training, but at least a little bit more know-how and walkthroughs and content related to rigging. Like just yesterday, 2 days ago, I was posting online a video showing how one of the characters from the Settlers, the Demeter made a little breakdown on how the mouth of this character works. And it is so fascinating, right? Like all the stack of modifiers and constraints and the shrink wraps and projections and how this curve is unrolled and driven by a curve. And like, it's really, you see it in a minute and it's already, okay, I see how that works. And you don't even need necessarily a 1 hour breakdown of how this is done. It's a start. So we are aware that there is a lot of appetite for rigging training. So we will try to provide something.
Absolutely. And this plug to the cloud is not an advertisement, actually, because this content is all available for free for everybody.
Absolutely.
Everybody, like the song from the Backstreet Boys. And All right, so let's go through the questions since we are here. So the second question is, hey Pablo community, this is my celebration day gift. Is it a developer? Analog precision mode. Use the Y dimension of the mouse for the order of magnitude. Oh, it's an improvement. It's a link to right click select.
Okay.
So it sounds like a proposal, but sounds also like somebody can actually code it. So because it's a celebration day gift, so I'll check it out later. But yeah, using the Y dimension of the mouse for the order of magnitude. So okay, now another question. So hello Pablo, congrats on the 100th show. Thank you for everything you're doing and you have done already. You're my life change. Thank you.
Changing the life. So let's get to business.
Yeah. You changed my life, but is it possible for the web modifier to be able to say your own presets for the custom profile curve? No, presets are not available for that. Unfortunately, presets are something I would love, would be awesome to have. Coming once we have the asset manager, the so loved asset manager. Is it possible for the array and mirror modifiers to use instances for array and mirroring? No, not at the moment, as far as I know, because an instance is an empty and you can't mirror empties, and yeah, basically that. So let's see. By the way, this pandemic is over. I will able to start working in Blender in one of the biggest game companies. Ooh.
Don't say.
No, NDA. I finished the test and got approved. Congratulations. But with the situation now we're in, can be recruited. Awesome. Oh, wait. I will update my donations to titanium. At least. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice.
Thank you.
I was talking about the Blender Fund, the Blender Development Fund.
Awesome.
Very nice. So, okay. Dear Pablo and the live. They assume you're the live.
Assumptions are being made. Yes.
Yes. Hi, the live, by the way. You're very thank you very much for the code dives. It's really interesting for me. You see, more content for the code dives. I'm currently learning Blender and try to advise some studios to switch to Blender for different workflows. One obstacle are missing color management features. There is already an entry on the Blender wiki. Color management is a huge thing because it will involve everything from look dev to compositing and even Blender sequencer and a huge stack. Is there any roadmap or timeline for this? No, that I know so far. There is color management is always in the agenda with the rest of updates, especially regarding cycles, but not that I know. But color management is like always in the agenda. It's one of those things, like it's like fixing and undo, which happened, but it takes time.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it possible to have code auto completion for Python? It is not even saying hi. It's like, is it possible to have code auto completion for Python scripting in Blender's built-in IDE? Yes, for Python you have control. You just press control space or tab or.
But it means in the text editor, or she?
Yeah, there is.
In the text editor.
I believe so. Import VPY and then VPY dot and then shift tab there, tab, go, tab, and then you autocomplete. So apps dot then you can, I don't know exactly how it's supposed to work, but there is autocomplete for Python with tab. How do I add a hotkey? That also not even hi, but you're a subscriber of you help the code quest, so you're cool. How to add hotkey for rotating HDRI for Eevee? Please, there's no option for that. For that setting, actually, I don't think you can right click on it to add a an HDR. I think no, you can't rotate the HDR with that. You could if you learn Python though. It's a get and set property, but it's a bit of work though. Blender forever. Thank you, Damian. Congratulations, episode 100. Hope to see you with a glass of wine today. No, I'm having apple juice today. Sparkling apple juice.
Nice.
But yes, I'll be glad to see more episodes in the future when you're showing the studio developers team wandering around, poking people, and I have a quick chat with them. So like the most annoying person ever. Like, hey, with the camera in their face. People love the camera in their faces.
Beautiful.
But I don't know. Do you think that's something could be fun once we are allowed to be near people?
I mean, you did it when it was during the Code Quest.
During the code quest, yes.
And it was editing, like you were editing it afterwards. I remember you did a couple and they were pretty successful. One of the tricky things that I found out about this, because I've been doing it myself for the production logs of the movie projects, is that it's difficult to get good sound. And when you want to get good sound and good light, then the better you want it to be, the more intrusive it becomes. So it really loses a lot of spontaneity. It's not really that natural anymore.
Just act natural, and then you come with like 3 spots, 1 rim, and then no, you need to talk directly here. Don't move. Very nice, very inviting.
Yeah, but I think like one thing that I've been thinking of is that, as technology evolves and moves us forward, nowadays with mobile phones, it's possible to get like a picture quality that is extremely high. So for example, with a very simple gimbal hand rig and a high-end phone, I think it might even be possible. And then it doesn't feel too intrusive. And I think that that's really one of the main kind of from a production, from making this thing, from that standpoint, kind of blocking, like to really make it nice content. You can always, take your little camera, go and talk to people, and it's going to be interesting because it feels very spontaneous, very natural. But then like we are also trying to raise the bar very slowly. It's really hard, by the way, to do that. In terms of production quality, but yeah. So I think it's a great idea, but finding the right format and finding the right tools to make it, it's gonna take a bit of investigation, basically.
Yeah, and I would have to convert this to my day job, basically, which could be fun.
By the way, just say it.
Which it could be fine. Now I'm being missed in other areas now that I'm full time YouTube /media. Well, I'm also working on the UI stuff, but yeah, how did, like, it's just a question for you, how does the quarantine change Blender productions for you, like as in like the rest of the team, because you're working mainly with the art team? That probably has changed stuff.
Let's do another live stream.
Okay. And a 4-hour live stream on Sunday 4 a.m.
It's been an experience that I hope doesn't happen anytime soon again. As in, it's of course like everything is fine and we always find a way. You can always, if you have the right attitude, you can always find a way to make things work, and things have been working. And the projects that is in development currently, it's really nice, it's really good, and we have so much material to share that it's like really almost difficult to keep up with the development. Myself, I'm sometimes quite busy, so I don't manage to get around to share that much. But there is a lot, so it's great. But on the other hand, it is really something different from the studio life, being in a studio, because there are agencies and studios and companies that are designed, that are built almost from the ground up to work remotely very effectively, and people are fine with it, because when you get into it, you know what you're getting into. And for us, it was never really part of the agenda to just scatter around and try to work together remotely. You really need a specific skill set to do that. You need to have a process that works in a certain way. So it's been, from my standpoint, it has been quite a challenge. And that's why I'm also like really looking forward for this to be going back to where it originally started.
Yep. I
partially agree.
I completely agree. I know it's and also it was a strange time for Blender Animation Studio, because you're just wrapping up a project and now starting something else, and basically have to find an excuse to do something that is not affecting the project. Now the film is pretty much finished, but we're waiting for the world to be normal again.
Yeah. And then there was really the idea of Don to just be like, let's react, let's respond to the situation and do something. And then between that idea, which I think is really great, to making the product and to really show people what we mean by it, it's really difficult to do it quickly. So that's like what we're trying to do this thing like as fast as we can, while keeping the quality and the communication good. So, but yeah, and indeed, it has changed a lot. And also the fact that, for example, you being, not being around in the building to do whatever you're doing, that really changes the dynamics, for everyone else. So that has affected, of course, the way we work after working for 5-10 years together in the same room. So, yeah.
Yep, that's true. So now
let's continue.
Let's continue. I'm actually watching a little bit of the production logs that you did, because you also became a YouTuber at some point, making content, a content creator. Not that. You see, design in Blender Cloud. That's what I was doing, basically, while the spring production log was happening. But I think it's also very interesting. I want to know from the community, for you guys in the chat and girls, what do you even follow the production logs that we make? Do you think it's interesting? Do you think they should be more art oriented or more Blender oriented? More like, this is how we use Blender for this and that, or this is how we came up with an idea of a girl in the Alps? You know, like what would you like to see more of those? Which I think is a bit biased for the kind of content that we have always on Blender today, which is a bit more technical. I mean, it's like, how do you make the cube in Blender? But yeah, Dream High Animation is very excited, and yes, make more, please, all caps.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we get them. So okay, I think we are 1 hour exactly 46 seconds of live stream. So let's do 5 more questions, and we can start wrapping it up.
Fantastic.
I don't know. I don't know if you have something to do. Sorry, you probably have like, yes, I'm baking a cake that is ready now.
No.
So okay, congrats on 100 episodes, and thanks for all the fantastic work you guys are doing. I tried to find some information on when, if mesh data library overrides might be available. Do you have any information on when one's planned? And Pipeliner links to the tasks where in Fabricator where you can actually read. And thank you so much, Pipeliner, because this is the kind of help that I really can use when either like knowing the answer, but it's somewhere hidden in the tracker. So this kind of help really helps. Thank you. Next question, circular array. Hello, Pablo and Dalai. I would like to point out, so you're Dalai City now.
Yeah.
To create a circular array, an empty is needed. Then we have to change the pivot point. All this process, besides to be tedious, modify the pivot point. Can this process be optimized? Yes, by adding an option to the array modifier. But lately we had contributors from the community. We had Cody Winchester, which was adding very cool options to the modifier settings and even to the solidify and stuff. Maybe he could look into that one. He's a volunteer though, so don't go hard. Maybe we can. I'll see if I find them on the chat and say what he thinks about it, if it's even feasible or possible to do. Let's remember that the core Blender developers are working on other areas at the moment, like Brecht Valomel is working on adding new object types, which you can, if you compile your Blender, you can already try the hair new object type, and the volume is already there, and the particle object, and the new simulation nodes, by the way. Next question, so that will be 4, 3, 4. Congratulations on your 100 live stream, just in your first day of Ramadan. What? Okay. This is the first day of Ramadan. I want to ask you about an episode with Andrew Price for Blender Every Day. Yeah, that would be fun. I have I made a podcast with him on once. Blender podcast is Blender Guru podcast, Pablo Vazquez or so, I think. Podcast. Yeah, there is a podcast with Ick with me that we talked about it. How long ago? Long time ago. Who knows when is this? 2015. Actually, 5 years ago. So maybe I could do something like that. What would you like to learn about Andrew Price? That is not the regular questions that he gets all the time. It's for an Blender Every Day though. Next, Facundo de la Rosa. But I know he's in now that I'm back thinking he's in Australia. What time is he even there?
Quick.
2 a.m. Yeah. And he has kids. So
he's awake.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we can do it earlier. So, hi Pablo, next question number 3. I want to ask about FBX format. I know it's not an open format. No, it's not. It's Autodesk format. It's not easy to keep it updated. No, it's not, because it's a closed format. But there is a problem. that bothers. Yeah, basically you have to reverse engineer everything. That bothers me a lot. It's not specifically related to the format. It's a problem of several formats. Axis orientation. I work with Blender and Unity for making games, and Blender gets the 90 degrees rotation in the x-axis. Apply transform. So it's on the importing or the exporting. Not sure. But yeah, what was it never fixed? I think it's always been fixed, but it keeps either breaking or there is something that changes. But like, so something as simple as the axis should have been fixed time ago. There is even a check for the axis thingy, because Blender has the app the same as 3ds Max and some other apps, but some other apps use Y app. Number 2. Any news on Animation 2020? The weekly.
You're getting all the exciting questions today, huh?
We have to ask. We have to talk with Dalai and Brecht to make a blog post. We wanted to make a blog post on the Code blog that answers the top 20, top 10 questions that people ask, like Animation 2020. I answered this so many times before. Sorry, you need to go check the videos in the past. Basically, Animation 2020, it's a multi-stage project, and we also need funding for it, like studios actually covering it. And you can read more about in the Blender Big Projects of 2020 on the code.blender.org. And the last question. Hi, I'm from Syria, and I advise most people around me to use your application, and I was hoping to support you, but in my country we cannot pay online. Is there any options that is not online?
I would recommend that if that is not possible, just spread the word, get people to use Blender, point people, make collections of tutorials that you think are interesting, download and share assets and trainings, and just word of mouth. That is one of the best things you can also do. Make your own Blender meetup in your town, in your city, in your village, wherever you are. It doesn't matter. Create your own local community. That is like, it gives back so much, you know. That is like one of the most powerful ways to give something back to a community if it's not possible for you to donate something, for example.
Exactly. You can always donate time, and that it's more valuable often than just money. Basically, do a Blender Today in Arabic. Translate the Blender manual into Arabic. I don't even know how even is there. No, there's not even a version of the manual in Arabic. So I mean, if you're interested in that, but just sharing the news, spreading the love around Blender, that already helps a lot. You don't even have to, you don't have to always, doesn't have to be money involved in the process. All right, so there is sirens coming to pick me up.
I hear them.
You hear them? You hear them loud. Yeah, no, I think the microphone is picking it up. I have a nice compressor on. All right, so how are you? Now I interviewed you for the second hour of Blender Today. I interview you.
Fantastic! Yeah, I'm sure people are been waiting for it. And
maybe just a small fun fact: the Blender Today, the name Blender Today showed up. It's a community that we built together with Francesco in an effort to bring back the community, the news to the communities, for people can share their own news. Really, that is like, if we were to, maybe we should have started from here. It's like not even before even YouTube was a thing. No, okay, not so much, but before even YouTube videos of Blender updates were a thing, in 2014, together with Francesco, we decided like, hey, why can't I just post my news? Why do I have to go to like drop it on I don't know, other websites of news in Blender that they get curated and then they have to, you know, you have to wait for an approval or something? Why can't just like I have my own news?
Yeah.
So we made Blender Today, basically from scratch. That is a website that you can find in the Blender.today. Then we got a bit more ambitious. It's like, hey, well, what if we just because we made it open source, the software is open source, that we made the community. And then it was picked up by right-click selects author, creator, Jason Van Gamster, took the code and made his own, installed it in his own server as right-click select.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing,
sir.
And then, of course, there were as any good open source software with bugs and problems and more than one user, there was already some struggle going on. And in the end, to make it more efficient to provide fixes or to have, better support for the whole project, then later down the line, we actually tweaked the software so that it could have multiple communities inside of itself. That was, I remember, one of the big breakthroughs, being okay, introducing communities so we can make communities. And that's when the name Blender Community started to exist even, right? And and then from there, it has become what it is now, what you can find on blender.community, with bringing in graphical and to try to make localized communities, the Blender OI and all that kind of.
It really grew in a very organic way, you could say. So we had this place which was a bit like Reddit. You have a post, up, down, and that's it. That was the Blender news. Then proposals for Blender is basically the same, up vote and down vote. So that's why you right click select. But then you have two sites to do the same thing. What about making community? So that's how Blender, and then we search, it's hey, blender.community is free. So we like the domain. So we just forgot Blender Community, we created it, and now we maintain it. Then I had another project with a friend, with Daniel Salazar Sancuro. We made in 2005, 15 years ago, we made graphical.org. Graphical.org is from 2005. There might be even people watching this that I wasn't even born back then. 13-year-old, 15-year-old. We made a graphical, and the website was falling apart because it wasn't maintained for many years. So it's hey, Francesco, what about we add a possibility to add builds to Blender Community? So we made Blender. So we added that. It's our projects always evolved around Blender in a way. We also had the Blender network at some point. One of the biggest things of the Blender, we still have it. One of the biggest thing of Blender network was the jobs board. So it's hey, why don't we, and the events, why don't we just bring it to Blender Community? So then we added events, the jobs, sequencer community based on the topic. So it's a little bit like Reddit. Then we added a chat. There is no chat. The IRC, you can't even share a picture in it. So we made Blender chat. So we made Blender chat, we made Blender Community graphical.
This is derailing into our, so we are a new web agency. If you have any commission, please get in touch.
Sort of fake, actually. So that was basically how it all evolved. Well, actually, it evolved in a different, now we are actually working, just a heads up, just a little thingy. But we're working on updating Blender today with another project that we're working on.
Yes, hype, hashtag hype.
Hype. There is an update, a major update coming, maybe this year.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah,
hopefully.
This is good. Yeah, it's enough wiggle room, I hope. Yes.
Yes, we can just say this year to make it, but it's almost there. Anyway, I think we covered everything in Blender in Blender today, from the Blender how it started to how it's right now. The future might be Blender Today becomes Blender Recap, Blender Today Recap. I mean, the recap stops being a recap and it's just Blender Today. And then we could have Blender Q&A, Blender every day for the artists, like meet the artists, meet the developers, and Blender Code Dive. What about that? So
much stuff, like a full-time job, basically. Yeah.
It's a full-time job. Have you guys Blender.hype yet? Sivren is asking. Actually, Tony Valoni says that we should continue with the live streams. Today it's more than recap. I think we should do both, but the thing is, we are gonna still do the Q&A, but maybe it could just be Q&A, and we can do even more like focus Q&A, like nodes Q&A or cycles Q&A, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good thing to do. Anyway, I would say let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up.
Again, congratulations on behalf of all the Blender community, everyone that is watching. Give a clap, give 5 thumbs up, just flood the chat, make some noise.
This is very lame, but I'm actually clapping myself here with some some sound I have in the background. The guys just should have.
Exactly.
Quiet, guys. It's.
Exactly. Unleash the emojis, and yeah. I mean, congratulations again for carrying the show so far, and let's keep going. The future looks very bright ahead.
The future looks bright.
Yeah.
Actually, this is in terms of live streams. I think I've done over 200 because I also do these live streams in Spanish, as you can see at the beginning, and that episode is already over 100. Yeah, so it's been over, like, there is between 200 and 300 hours of content ranting on YouTube.
Beautiful.
What are we doing to this planet? Oh my. All right.
Cool.
All right. Grazie, tante grazie, Francesco, per your visit here. Yeah. Prego. Sì. Fantastic. I miss hanging out at the studio actually now and talking and trying to speak Italian.
Yeah. Let's see each other soon in the real world.
Everybody at home, stay safe, please. Don't go out if you don't have to yet. Let's push it for a little bit longer. I think we're doing great so far. The world is doing great. Italy got the first day with more people recovered than hospitalized. A few days ago, I think I was reading the news. I'm super happy about that. I think that everywhere I think is doing a little bit better. So many reasons to be happy and to stay home as well, to watch even more Blender today / everyday / Code Dive / recap /
everything.
Settlers. There is many videos of the Settlers Porsche and scripting for artists in this channel. Where do you get a channel so confusing?
Do you guys even sleep? Do you guys even sleep? Are we even sleeping here? I just keep churning out content like non-stop.
Gotta keep going. All right. Let's say goodbye. There is 370 people staying connected now that they're waiting for us.
Thank you for hanging out with us all the way.
Thank you, Francesco. You've been in the 50th episode and now in the 100th. So see you.
Well, when you see me next time.
See you before the 150, please.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you. I'm gonna cut it down here. So basically, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're not gonna hear you, Francesco, but the rest are gonna be. See you. Wait. Little announcement. Tomorrow, 4 p.m., which means 1 hour earlier than this live stream, I'm gonna be together with Daniel Beisted and Magdalena from there is a Twitter thread. I'm gonna share the news. I'm gonna create the event. We're gonna be sharing how like a AAA artist, a massive, really amazing professional, asking another professional about Blender way of doing things. So that will be amazing. Ciao. Sorry. Bye bye. Ciao and ciao.